Today, we're looking at a green ink by Atramentis, Hans Christian Andersen, Petrol. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. There's timestamps down below so that if you are only interested in certain parts, you can skip around, but if you've got the time, please check out the entire video. Also, you can follow me over on Instagram, and if you like fountain pen ink reviews, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I inked up this Kaweco Brass Sport with a broad nib, wrote with it for a day, and then used it to take the notes for this video. I used 3 papers to standardize in some of my writing samples: Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. There are additional writing samples that'll come later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than a stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We see it on camera, I don't see it in person, but it's not there in the writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 15 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub, it's just a little bit lighter, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 25 seconds to dry. Scrubbies for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any. And then there's Rhodia, with no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 12 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and there is none. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see that there's this very light gray at the bottom. There's not a ton of it. It's pushing its way up. And then we get a very interesting green up at the top. I don't know how to else describe that. It's like an aquamarine, kind of leaning slightly blue, looking at the line at the very, very top. Makes me feel like that line at the top is actually a darker ink. It makes me feel like it's not that same green just gathered. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. Now that gray really gathered in a line on the bottom. It really got into the filter paper, not wanting to budge. Does give you the idea that that might be a hang around color. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it's the lowercase h blowout that makes me not want to use this in a note-taking situation if I'm going to go back and highlight. Now, water's lifting the greens, but not that gray that was there. That gray is very much there in the paper. Water didn't do it to get it out of my pen. The pen flush, you're starting to see it really break up. You're not seeing the white of the paper, but you are starting to see the gray break up in the upper part. And I did use pen flush to get this out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution completely removed it from the paper, leaving a little bit of yellow staining, but I didn't need to use 1/3 bleach to get this from my pen. I test viscosity or flow with a tilt test that I'll link down below in a description or in a card. Now for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Atramentis Petrol has a viscosity of 2.21, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Atramentis Petrol has an average dry time of 16 seconds, making it still normal. Instead of finding inks that look like the Atramentis Petrol, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I can't help but put purples with greens sometimes. I like how it looks now, didn't as a child. I chose Krishna's Moonview, which is largely a blue with a lot of red sheen, making it appear purple. The second writing sample is done on Life, Levenger, and Franklin Christoph paper. Here we see Life paper. Now we get no bleeding and no ghosting, and the 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 9 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both aren't really showing us any color variation, and we're not getting any. Levenger paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. Extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. Medium is actually just a tad darker than the stub. I don't know that it's going to fully come through on camera. I hope it is. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show the tiniest bit of color variation, although it's not there in the writing. And last up is Franklin Christoph paper, which has no bleeding or ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 5 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine is still showing some color variation, although it's not there. The medium shows none, and there is none. And that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Atramentis Hans Christian Andersen's Petrol? This is a very nice green that goes down in a very solid tone the whole way through. Now for me, I really do prefer my greens to have a bunch of shading, and this one just doesn't have that. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? There's a lot of color variation you can get depending on the pen and nib that you choose. For me, a medium flow, medium nib puts down the nicest tone on the page. If you've enjoyed this video and made it this far, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down and tell me why. Thanks for watching.